Good afternoon. So there's a few things that I want to talk about. Let's be clear, it's mostly about cycling. It's mostly going to be about cycling, but really I'll do the cycling mostly to keep fit. I'm not, I'm not going to win any races anytime soon. But so the cycling, running and swimming, it's pretty much all the same thing. Cycling, running and swimming sounds like probably triathlon. I haven't done a triathlon either. Thinking about it, I might get there eventually. But really, the cycling though has led into another thing that I want to talk about. I'm also a local councillor in Dudley Borough, and I'm kind of quite keen on the environmental things. So in a few months' time, maybe December, maybe not till next February, we'll have to see, I'm going to put a motion to council for this climate change emergency. How on earth does that link back to cycling? Well, it's quite straightforward really. This week at council we had a motion that was in regard to divestment in fossil fuel investments, and one of the other councillors fairly rightly pointed out that it was great that we were talking about it, but we were probably all going to drive home in a car, petrol or diesel. She wasn't entirely right. I know at least one of them's electric, but by and large, yeah, she got it. And to be fair, I kind of thought about this beforehand with the climate change emergency motion. I can't really turn up in the car, can I? So I like the cycling anyway, so why not turn up on my bike? Right, well, I am going to do it, but I don't live that far away from the council office in Dudley. I live down the road a bit. It's probably 3 or 4 miles down the road. However, Dudley Council, whom I'm a councillor for, let's just say that the provision they have made for cycling infrastructure in the Dudley Borough is a bit limited. I suppose lip service might be a bit harsh, but it's still a bit limited. So to start with, I'm going to have to cycle from my home to the council house in the centre of Dudley. Now some of this I can do on one of the national cycle paths if I wanted to. I don't, because that particular national cycle path heads straight up the side of a set of locks, canal locks, and it's steep, it's very uneven, not a great idea in the dark. And look, this is going to be December or February, it's going to be dark nearly by the time I do this, so I'm going to have to go on the road. I'll probably make it alive, probably, in the traffic between here and Dudley. The only great thing is at that time of day usually the traffic's more or less stationary, so it makes it a bit easier. There are some cycle paths, they're hilarious. The cycle paths we have here, generally, the ones on the road, they're about 1 metre wide. There's usually about 30 centimetres left between the big sticky out drain hole and where the cycle path ends, so you occasionally have to swerve around the drains a bit, and then they'll just end randomly, just stop. You're riding along, cycle path, avoid the drain, more cycle path, stops. So suddenly all the traffic's got a bit used to you being in the cycle lane, and then you're not anymore. Bit tricky. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be fine. At council house, arrive at the council house, I'm going to have to lock my bike up outside. This means I have a gravel bike and I have a road bike, both of which I really like. They're not expensive bikes. I don't do expensive bikes. It's not really about the bike, it's about the riding the bike. I'm not taking either of those, so I'm going to have to get another bike, obviously. If you're into cycling, you've always got to get another bike. I have got a track bike as well, but that's got no brakes on it, so I can't use that one. So I'm going to get a cheap commuter bike. I'm going to do some work on that. I'll talk about that later, another video. So then I'm going to lock it up outside Dudley Council House for the night while I'm in there doing my climate change motion. Incidentally, they're probably going to get me my cycling gear rather than my suit, which would be the norm. but as far as I'm aware, there's nowhere to get showered and changed because they're not really set up for that. Incidentally, where my bike will be locked outside, yeah, there's not much provision for locking your bike up, not very secure, quite close to the footpath, long way from the security people, so we'll see if it's all still there when we get back. Probably could do that better, probably could have somewhere for me to get changed when I arrived. You know, there are lots of things I suppose we could do better. Nonetheless, we'll see. I have plans for that bike. I have plans for after the climate change motion. I might talk a bit about that as well in the future. We'll see. That's going to be it for today though, and in the future it's going to be mostly about the cycling.